So again, thank you all. Just to give you a context, we're starting to do these very niche kind of sectors. Though we may not get a big audience, but this is something that we want founders and our ecosystems to start looking now. Not when it becomes a unicorn and then all rush to that. So I think I have Anand with me over here. He's a charter member from TiE Mumbai. For most of you who didn't know, he was the man behind the rift between Rohit and Hardik Pandya. So I'm just joking. So he used to work for Mumbai Indians before this.
I can't get any fired, right?
Huh?
Even if I was, I can't get fired.
No, you can't. So, so he's going to be the moderator of the day. And I think my only request is again, you know that we have very freewheeling discussions over here. So give the whole panel the first 25-30 minutes to make their points. Unless there's something which is, like they're saying completely against your DNA that you can put your hand up and, quiz them, challenge their IQ, please do that. To give them a context, can I ask a 2-minute introduction of everybody? Just your name, your company, and your interest in this sports tech as a segment. And even if you're completely virgins to this, let us know so that all our 3 speakers today will kind of get in context as to, whether they take a notch up or they bring it, 3 notches down. So that's the whole thing. Yeah, Raj.
Hi everyone, Raj Gupta, partner with KPMG, Digital and Analytics, part of the leadership team for Analytics for KPMG India. My interest in sports analytics is, let's say, very high level right now, but I do believe that it can be a big business. I was just talking to Anand outside, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Thank you for being there.
Okay, by the way, he's an angel investor who's quite free with his money, so. I mean, that's the most important thing that founders want to know and classify.
You're sold.
This is Gaurav Sinkar, so currently working as a data analyst at RFYS, mainly into Olympic sports. So, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Shamik Shah, I'm from Sports for All. With Rishi on the panel who is also from that. So, of course, this is everything that we do. And
Perfect.
That's why.
Venkat from You Can Run. We do a lot of things around running. We've been in this space for a long time, and we do many things in running.
Yeah, hi. My name is Rakesh, and I'm working since many years for the fitness industry. And for a few years back, I have launched the CRM for fitness industry. Now I'm connecting with this sports industry with my applying to launch my marketplace for that fitness industry and sports.
Sure, thank you.
Hello, I'm Saket from fitsf.com. We have launched a vertical marketplace dedicated to sports, and we are also giving related services. So we have started with running, and we are about to launch to other sports very soon.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Shweta, and I'm a co-founder with him. So I look at the tech side of the same startup.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Pari, I'm 17, and actually I've come with my father, but I'm an athlete, and I'm going to be going to US for diving, which I do Olympic diving, and I'm also going to be majoring in sports business, so I've just come to get an understanding.
Perfect. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Saurabh Anand. I'm currently working in Zydex, and I've been a national level hockey player, so I've always been inclined towards sports. And now I'm planning to pursue a degree in sports management, so I'm here to learn and see.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Srinivas. I'm basically an FMCG professional, 25 years in the FMCG industry, brands like Johnson & Johnson, Philips, SC Johnson. So I want to start up my own now. And as such, I am a cricketer, under 15 V. Pattabhiraman Trophy, under 17 A.G. Ram Singh Trophy for Hyderabad. And sports tech has been an area of interest for me.
Perfect.
Hi, Abhishek here. I started out in fundraising about 2 decades ago, but been a full-time sports journalist for about 15 years now. Most recently worked with RCB for the WPL.
And congratulations. I'm a closeted RCB fan, and that's only because I've been living in Mumbai for the last 14 years.
Hi, I'm Manish Balwani here. I work with startups and MSMEs, help them raise funds. And secondly, we also are into the secondary and the public markets. What brings me here is I'm working on a mandate with a company, with a startup, basically AI in sports.
Okay.
So that's something. So want to understand the space better.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Manoj Sonavne. My current company is into sports skincare. and we manufacture things like white zinc, sunscreen, brown zinc, and all that. And my previous venture was into cricket, like capturing the highlights of the cricket matches, using the umpire. So we had a mobile app which will capture the highlights and publish it on YouTube channel. And I also want to do something for the turf sports, which I think will be pretty big in the coming years, and that's why I'm here.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ramdas Sant. I am from Allstate Group. We are in 9 vertical. For sports related, our indoor, outdoor, adventure, water sports related equipment, we are in, like pool table, bowling alley and all. That's
perfect.
And another sector.
Thank you.
I am Vinay, completely new to sports, but always fascinated how sports make money. So looking forward to the discussion.
Perfect. Thank you.
I am Sunil. I'm an engineer who turned into sports and been working in sports from last 1 year. I'm very fascinated about the grassroots thing and what SFA does. I'm a very big fan of that, what SFA does. So I would love to know what SFA want to do more using the data and everything. And I know Shubhangi's team as well. Sachin, I think, was working with them. So also like what they're broadcasting, and they can go more into grassroots, use the data and everything. I hope I've transitioned my journey from engineer to sports. I can use my tech knowledge and the business acumen to do something in sports. So that's what the thing which I'm looking at. So I'm here to connect and to gain some knowledge. Thank you.
Perfect.
Hi everyone, my name is Saurabh Purgaonkar. I am from One Play Sports. I am heading the business in India. I've been earlier with Pitch Vision, which was a sports tech company. And since this is the sports tech panel discussion, this is of keen interest to me. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Aditya Modi. I'm an analyst at a new private equity and growth VC firm called Amara Partners. And just here to sort of understand the sector since we're building our thesis on it.
Yeah, sure. If anybody needs a little heads up on Amara, Parag Shah is the partner who's a board member. So at least 2 levels we can say, "Apka ho jayega." I'm just joking. Again, welcome all. Thank you for this. I think now I leave it to the panel. And again, please remember that this is a freewheeling discussion. We do record stuff, but say by mistake uttered names and stuff like that, do let us know. We'll edit it. And so Chatham House rules will apply, folks. And I think the idea over here is to gain as much as knowledge as you can all. From our personal perspective, there is TiE. I have my team, Kushal, Gupta, Ali. So you can reach out to them anytime. But from our perspective, I think we just want to understand the opportunities that is there. And if at all you have any feedback to us as an association or as a body that we need to do more, let us know. And that's what we are looking to. Over to you, Anand.
Thank you. First of all, thanks a lot to the TiE team. I think first time when Sabnam approached with this idea of doing something in sports, and that was because for the last 1 year I was putting some idea here and there. So it was great to, let's say, hear back and almost 2 months back, and from now to having this session, I think it's great. And I would like to thank Rohan, Shubhangi and Rishikesh for taking out the time and agreeing to do this. And although we are doing, just to clarify, although we are doing the session's name is on sports tech, but sports is very big part of it. Tech is just starting, right? So we will first try to capture the sports side of it, and then we'll come to opportunities and things like those. But before diving into the session, I would request our speakers to briefly introduce themselves.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Rishi here. I'm the founder of SFA, Sports for All. We are trying to build one unifying school sports platform across the country, and trying to radically transform the way school sports was looked at. So yeah, more to come when we get into conversation.
My name is Shubhangi. I am one of the co-founders of Sportboard, and at the base level, we are trying to solve a problem of content and data capturing at grassroots level. Currently, we are doing that in 80 cities in India and around 14 countries beyond India. Again, more to follow as and when things go.
I am Rohan Vyavaharkar. My day job is Director of Marketing and Comms at Omitia Network India, which is an impact investment firm. I also at ONI also have a sports investment practice, of which Sportwater is actually a investee company, and we look at the intersection of sport and impact. And I'm also one of the reasons I think Anand's invited me is because I've actually had the opportunity and the privilege of having worked in sports as a journalist, as an operator, as having built IPs, and now as an investor. So I've actually been privileged over the last 2 decades to look at different aspects of the industry, and I can tell you it's a very interesting and very exciting time to be a part of it.
Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, I am Anand Leel, currently working as head of partnerships and business development at Pedal India. I'm sure most of you have not heard about it, but you will hear about it in next 2 years for sure. Earlier, I was working with Reliance Sports almost for 5 years and got the opportunity to being the part of purchasing process of the last 4 teams which Mumbai Indians purchased, 3 outside India, 1 in India. But the thing which I am like the most passionate about apart from sports, startups is the second thing which it's something which like it creates some kida inside me, and that's why I was trying to build something at the intersection of sports and startups at MI. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and now I'm trying to carry forward the same thing in whichever small way I can contribute. And I think today, sports in general and sports tech in particular, it's at the intersection of like there is this thing called inflection point, and I think that point has come, even if not from Indian perspective, from global perspective for sure. So I think it's great to it has been a very short introduction of our speakers. But Rishi, starting with you, because let's say you were doing all things sports at the like top of the top with Mumbai Indians and Reliance. You were there almost for 7-8 years, built it from grounds up, and from there to going at the bottom of the pyramid of sports, right? So how has been your journey so far, right? And today SFA is pretty much doing many things, whatever the organized part of grassroots sports is concerned. So please take us through your journey briefly.
It's a very interesting journey because I was a national level swimmer myself. I started playing sport at the age of 4 and 5. I mean, today when I go and meet governments and ministers, they ask me, so who are you? And I'm like, I've been in sport for 35 years. She's like, how old are you? I said, I'm only 40. So that's actually very one-dimensional because for 35 years of my life, I've done only sport. I've been exactly where you are as national level swimmer. So the journey started this way, right? Because while I was doing my engineering in information technology is when I realized that I'm not cut out for that, and I was at a state of flux in my own life, and I said that the only other thing that I would like to do or know to do is sports. So I want to do sports, and I didn't know anybody in sport, and there was no formal jobs. There was nothing like this 20 years ago when it came to sport. And so I reached out to my uncle and I told him that I want to do something in sport. You are a member at CCI. Can you help me meet someone? So he's like, I'll meet only one person that I know, Raj Singh Dungarpur. So I went and met Mr. Raj Singh Dungarpur when I was around 19, 20 years old, and I told him very categorically that I don't want to work in cricket, I want to work in sports. So why don't you tell me what I can do in sports? So he's like, there is nothing right now in sports, you will have to start off from cricket. There is no other way to look at starting a career in administrative side of things in sport other than cricket. There was no IPL also at that time. So I said, okay, great, that works fine for me because if that's the start, so be it. So I did 2 charity matches which were organized at CCI, and I said, okay, that's what I kind of fairly understood about it. And then 2003-04 is when the first Standard Chartered Mumbai Marathon happened in Bombay. And I had failed my 12th standard exams and I had an entire year to kill. So we were at the family farm and I was again doing nonsense, and my mom is like, you're wasting your time. At least go and run the marathon, you might just win some prize money. And that way the year will go on. So I said, okay. And I ran the first marathon without any practice or anything of that sort, that first half marathon. And to me, that was like the most beautiful day that I had seen in Bombay city. the entire Marine Drive was shut, there were no cars, people were running, there were green, white, blue balloons. And like that kind of really hit me very hard, saying that wow, this is what a day like this can do to people. And so then I realized that there has to be some company that must be organizing this or anything of that sort. So let me go and figure. So that's how I figured out that ProCam was the company, and I walked into that office saying that kuch bhi de do, I'll happily start doing something. So that happened, and then for 2-3 years I worked, and then I realized that I need some formal education in sport. Today I would discourage anybody to go abroad to do formal education in sport. It makes no sense, firstly. But yeah, I did that. I went because so I went to Australia. I studied for a couple of years, and that's when the IPL came about. I was planning to work in Australia only, saying that still there's nothing in India, so let's start working there. But the IPL came about, and thankfully I had a connection with Reliance. So I told my dad, if you can check, and if there's a job available, then I'll come back. And that's the story. And that's when Mr. Raj Singh Dungarpur's words again hit me, saying that cricket se hi shuru karna padega. So that's how my journey in professional administrative sport kind of began back then. And when I started SFA, it was going back to Mr. Raj Singh Dungarpur's conversation that no cricket but sport. And today at SFA we operate in 32 disciplines of sport and no cricket. So yeah, that's pretty much how things kind of came together.
That's very interesting, I guess. And yeah, I think that's the first thing starts for everyone, starts from passion, right? Because, and as someone was saying that first engineer, I think that's the basic qualification in the country. First engineering and then everything else. So from there, Shubhangi, how has your journey shaped up so far? And Sportvote has done pretty amazing job in last 5-6 years, and that too, what Rishi just said, not in cricket, but primarily in every other sport. So how has that journey been for you?
Right. So I think my journey is a bit opposite. In fact, my story started from my parents saying कि school में मतलब sports में क्यों जाना है? What's the point of being in sports? Study and get a degree and get a job, right? So I think it starts from there. And in fact, I never imagined, to be honest, that I will ever be working for a sports company or founding even a sports company, because for me that was never an option since childhood. Right, and my two other co-founders, Siddhant and Yash, once they were working on this YouTube channel where they were creating content around IPL, and they were discussing that why this player is good and working on data pieces, and I was just helping them market the whole thing. During that process, we figured out that there was this one athlete from Bangalore, again a cricketer, and he said that आप मेरा ऐसा report card बना दोगे, मुझे अच्छी placement मिल जाएगी. So that is when we realized that at grassroots level there is no way that any athlete can grow upwards, because as of till then it was all pen and paper. You had no idea how selections are happening, at what basis are the players being judged. So we started with a very small problem. We figured out, okay, how do you solve this? And one day on YouTube we saw a Borle Premier League being streamed on YouTube with like a very average scoreboard and a chair and a cow walking by the ground, and people are watching it. There were 2,500 live viewers back then on YouTube. So then we started to study a bit more about broadcast tech. We started with district school. I'm sure a few of you must know that DSOs hote hain Bombay mein. There are inter-school competitions that happen. So we started with there. We started streaming some matches. There were like around 50 different sports, indoor, outdoor, inclusive. We figured out what's the problem in data capturing, what's the problem in content capturing. I think the biggest problem was that it is so expensive that people can't do it. Like at grassroots sports at all, there is a limitation of funds also, and then enabling that data and content capturing is very difficult. So that is when we realized that we started picking sports. Of course, cricket was not the first one we chose. Kabaddi, hockey, badminton, these were the kind of sports we chose, which can be done from mobile cameras as well. We started with that. We started developing more in mobile streaming. How do you वहीं से stream कर सकते हैं, वहीं से score कर सकते हैं, player profiles update हो सकते हैं. Everything happened in a very systematic manner on a single device. That is when we started exploring more. Unfortunately, COVID hit in 2020, so I think that was a time where instead of giving up, we tried to make the product so more scalable that you don't have to send so many people on the field to do all of these things. So we started, making the tech better. Then we started, researching a bit more and how do you do it beyond India as well. Because at that time we also got funded from an Australia company. So we had to prove a case in between COVID that how can we stream 50 matches in Australia sitting in India and cannot travel. So I think in Australia only there's a TiE university that we partnered with. There were some Indian kids who were very happy to see that okay, there's an Indian company trying to do something in Australia. We came together, we made it work, and I think after COVID is when we started going aggressive in India market first, of course, because things opened up, and I think the first thing people wanted to see was sports. So there were a lot of tournaments happening. We started scaling a lot. Then we were very privileged to get a round of series fund in 2022 where Ankur Capital A were one of the lead investors. Then we started exploring more opportunities beyond tech. Like I think one of the questions is that beyond tech also there are a lot more things to solve. And then personally, that is where my involvement started coming in, is that the main reason why people can't afford streaming is because there's no fund. So how do you convince a brand to come and invest in domestic sports? So personally, that has been my challenge for the last 1.5 years that I'm trying to solve, and so far I think the response has been very positive. I think there are brands who have now started to look at sports as not as sponsorship or donation, but more like marketing budget investments. Of course, content data never goes, because end of the day that is the strength, what is pulling everything together. But I think now the next big challenge is that what beyond tech and what beyond streaming.
That's, I think, super. I think that highlights the fact we talked about something like inflection point, right? Nothing of this sort could have happened if the mobile technology, today the cameras in mobile phones are so powerful that an entire game can be captured through it. And at the same time, the computer vision, analytics side of it, it's so strong that that data, the scorecards can be produced remotely. So I think that's when today there is a lot more available, and use cases have to be found by us. Tech is there, and from there I think finding the use cases, I will come to Rohan, and they were the lead investors in the last round of Sport World. So I think from you, same question from the journey side, but at the same time, why you are so bullish when it comes to, let's say, investments in sports? If first the journey and then the
Sure. So, sorry, Rishikesh, but I've been playing cricket since I was 10. Played competitively since I was...
that's fine. I love cricket.
I know, I'm joking.
My parents didn't allow me to play cricket. They like play everything other than cricket.
No, but I played competitively since I was 10. I was playing at a fairly decently high level, and at 19 I had a knee injury. I tore my ACL, and at which point I was also doing professional theatre. I was also doing journalism. So cricket was over, because at that point we had no physiotherapy in India at all. So that's another thing that I'm passionate about in terms of medical science for sport. But my cricket career was effectively over, and then I had to decide whether I want to be very poor as a journalist or absolutely dirt poor as a theatre person. So I chose to be very poor as a journalist, and then that's when I did my masters. I worked in local Indian newspapers, went overseas, did a masters in broadcast journalism, came back to India because the broadcast industry was booming. We're talking 18 years ago, 2005, or 19 now, 2005, and then that's when I joined the NDTV Sports Desk. And so I was on the NDTV Sports Desk for about 5 years. In between, went and set up World Space Satellite Radio. I don't remember that. I set up the sports network that they had, one and only one that they had over there, and then sort of did that for about 5 years, and that's when I got a chance. And at NDTV again, it was a very familiar ecosystem. I played sports, played cricket and covered a lot of cricket. Played cricket with a lot of the folks I was covering. Most of them have now retired, obviously, but back then some of them were still very active. And then I moved then to Red Bull, where I was working with where I was part of the first sort of marketing team that was being set up. I first ran the comms and created a bunch of IPs you might have heard of. We took a Formula 1 car to the world's highest motorable road, so that was my project. We did something called Red Bull Campus Cricket, which is like a global tournament that's ongoing even today. I'm very proud of that. Was involved in this crazy project where Felix Baumgartner jumped from the edge of space called Red Bull Stratos. So did a bunch of absolutely crazy things at Red Bull. It was a lot of fun. And then I probably took a knock on the head and decided to join Twitter to set up their marketing and comms over there. I did that for about a year, and then I ran something called, if you remember, the IPTL, International Premier Tennis League. It's amazing that you all do remember, but because I'd like to forget. No, but I'm joking. But I ran the Singapore team for the owners of called Singapore Slammers. I did that for a couple of years, and then I joined one of the pioneers of Indian sports marketing called Ravi Krishnan, who was running a company called Stepathlon. So I ran Stepathlon for him for a year and a half. And if anyone wants to know Ravi, a year and a half working with Ravi is more like 15 years. So did that, and then I joined Media Network India, where I sort of went back to more traditional marketing and communications. But throughout the whole time being connected, in the world of sport, either through consulting or sort of working with a couple of other investors who were working in the space. And then about 2 years ago, I really decided, I was like, I've had enough of this traditional marketing and comms, and I spoke to Rupa, my boss then, and I was like, look, I really need to do something different. And that's when we came up with this idea of saying, look, let's take sports and impact and marry the two. And then I built out an investment thesis. And the whole thesis is that, look, if I can call myself an athlete, like I've seen people's lives change through sport, right? Whether it's at an athlete level, whether it's at a coach level. I mean, there are several of us who've played sport professionally, and you've seen, you know what that means, right? How that changes people's lives. And really, I believe in the power of sport tremendously, and which is where I'm bullish, because and we were just talking about this a little while earlier, right? Like you could take a parallel of where fintech was 15 years ago, but everybody understood the value of fintech, right, and what it can unlock. I think the opportunity today is for us to educate, like people like us, and we are the first we're the vanguard, right? We have to take to the masses, or to the wider entrepreneur community, to the wider investor community, and really explain to them the power of sport.
Yeah.
Right? Because I believe that's really what's going to do it. And so I do a bunch of work with people like Abhinav Bindra and that ilk, and you see the energy that these people carry, right, in being able to sort of drive sport. So I believe, like, for me, that really is, and to answer your question very meanderingly, is to be able to unlock that opportunity. Is that, what sports and through technology as an enabler, what it means to me is, it means a healthier nation. It means actually delivering on the demographic dividend that we keep talking about. It actually means providing more livelihoods and opportunities in spaces that have previously been unexplored. And it means intersections of so many different changes, right? So I mean, you can talk about financial inclusion, you can talk about gender, you can talk about education, health. I mean, they're endless, because really that's what's required, right? Like, we need imagination in sort of being able to unlock all of these things. And I think that's what makes me so bullish. The sports tech, yes, and we'll make some money out of that, sure, but I think the larger opportunity is if we can really kickstart sport and technology in India primarily has solved for the top 10%. That's it. There's a 90% below that, right? Like, who's going to solve for that? And I believe sports actually can be that sort of defining moment.
Absolutely. And I think when coming about, like, let's say, just to add, like, why I am bullish, so sorry to disappoint on the AI front. So the AI front, the only good opportunity is that AI is going to make us have more free time. And what can you do in that free time? You will have to play sport, right? Or video games, or something like that. So eventually the demand side will come from there. Because at the end of the day, yeah, absolutely, there will be applications of AI in sports as well. But my simple point is that, and that's why if you see today why governments are spending so much in sports or sports tech, why they are promoting it, because first, it has become the single most parameter of showcasing or projecting the soft power of any nation, right? So today the economic advancement of any country and their sporting advancement is very much correlative, and that's why everyone is spending. And I think second is, if governments want to maintain law and order, there is so much free time in the hands of citizens, and I think probably sports is one of the only things where some productive time, leisure time people can spend. So I think that is from a 26,000 feet view. That's, I think, a point why I think people will, obviously everyone wants healthier nation. At the same time, government also wants some motives which obviously they won't speak up, but that's why you can see that the amount of money being spent in sport, I think from somewhere less than 1500 CR, the union budget is now close to 3500 CR, and that's almost like 2.5x increase within last 7-8 years. And that too, sports is a state subject, right? So the models like, let's say the Odisha model, now couple of state governments like Tamil Nadu is openly following that. And in India, you won't see state governments from different party lines saying that I am following your model, right? So that's a very big point from, I think sports again comes as a unifying factor. So politicians in today's day and age, they like to do name calling all the time, but when it comes to sports, they are also trying to follow, and by quoting, like obviously people copy without quoting all the time, but coping with giving credits, it's something which is unheard of in our context. So I think from, again, thanks a lot for sharing your journey, and I think it's good to know the starting point. And I think Rishi, what you have been doing, like using tech, but it's more process driven, like how to create those competitive structures through which people can come up. So if you can share some aspects of, like, you know, the pathways, because like let's say 15-20 years back, the pathways were completely missing. And I think Shubhangi at Sport Vote, you guys are also trying to do that. So if we can talk about, like, very briefly on like how what you are doing is helping young athletes come through the ranks. How are you creating those pathways for athletes using technology?
We started off with a very clear focus, right? To say that if sport had to start, it had to be a cultural thing. So it has to come, like, you know, today when a child is born, the first thing that parents do is take them to a temple. That's so cultural, right? To read. I said that I want to see a day when the parents take them to the sports field. Right? While you take them to the temple, please take them to the sports field as well. And that's why it had to start from school. But then I realized that, you know, I mean, today if I ask that question, that which is that #1 school for sport in your city or in your country or in your state, and nobody had an answer. Schools themselves don't know the kind of talent that they have, right? How many girls, how many boys, which age group, which sport. So if they don't know all of that, how are they going to, what infrastructure to build, what coaches to get, how to focus on sport? That direction is only not there. Then the other takeaway was looking at the Olympics, right? I mean, every 4 years there's an Olympics that comes. और इंडिया को ओलंपिक्स में अच्छा दिखना है, उसीलिए ये $1 billion इकोनॉमी चल रहा है. अगर ओलंपिक्स नहीं होता तो probably nobody would have cared about sport, especially India, right? But every 4 years when it comes and when we realize we are there, and that's where the soft power starts coming into play, right? So it took a lot of inspiration from this, and okay, that's what tells us. So, and then if you look at the school sporting systems, right, they are all fractured, fragmented, and it's all in license raj. Because every competition that is out there today, in whatever sports it is there, is like, ये स्पोर्ट में खाली 2 ही बच्चे तुम्हारी स्कूल से आ सकते हैं, ये एक ही बच्चा ये स्कूल से आ सकता है, right? So corruption begins there. The coach decides which 2 kids will go, and that. So this is all the journeys that I went through, right? And that's why SFA started out of frustration to say that how can we mitigate all of these factors. Then another thing is that the competitions would happen only for CBSE schools, then only for ICSE schools. Like, what has got an educational board got to do with who you are as an athlete?
Yeah.
So you have to change all of those fundamentals. And then, you know, I mean, you didn't have changing rooms for girls. It was as bad as that. It is still pretty much like that. So to negate all of these factors, you had to keep the athlete in the center. And saying that, okay, every school, all sports, equal access across all age groups is the first thing that we need to do. The second thing is that we have to attract kids to sports, so we have to be able to give them that larger than life sporting experience. Otherwise, what is starting to happen is sports for marks, if you remember. So that's you're forcing kids to play sport. Again, it's corruptive, right? Saying that why should I get 10 marks in my geography paper because I won a basketball game? It just does not make any sense. So to mitigate all of these, the SFA model was conceptualized making sure that each of these things can get negated. And that's why technology was important. And exactly as you said, right, that no records are maintained, no data is maintained today. All kids go and play, but the school does not even know what they've done and come. And so that's the aspect in which we brought about technology. We brought in videos, match videos, in 2015. We didn't even have service providers who knew how to, shoot a swimming race, or we didn't have service providers who could, who knew the rules of volleyball to shoot a volleyball game. So we kind of started out from there. And why we did all of that is because technology is a big enabler to maintain records, to maintain data, to be able to, today that newspaper cutting with anybody's name could come in a newspaper, you showed it to a college and you got admission in sports quota. So, everything that was built around it was set up for corruption. And what we are trying to do is trying to, bring logic into all of this. So there's no rocket science, but the complexities are very large. I mean, because see, when you get 32 sports happening, you have 32 states, district associations or state associations of different sports to work together. When you are cutting across all educational boards, then you have these, we started off with 0 schools, we have 7,000 schools across the country that participate with us now. But it was like CBSE स्कूल का अलग कैलेंडर होता है तो उन लोग अलग टाइम पे कंपटीशन खेलेंगे, ICSE का अलग होता है तो अलग टाइम पे खेलेंगे. So to get all of these schools to come onto that one calendar was the second biggest challenge which we continue to face. Then we've got like the Dhirubhai Ambani schools and the Campions and Cathedrals to play with the government schools alike, right? Equal. So that is another changing of mindsets. So but all of this, I would say that when you ask the question of technology, this is like an enabler to equality, enabler to access, enabler to transparency, right? That's pretty much the way we use technology at SFA.
Yeah, that's good. I think on that aspect, like let's zoom out a little bit, like before going into let's say what exactly each one of you are trying to do. What do you think are the opportunities in sports tech? Because because I'm saying from my personal experience, when I was building my thesis for Mumbai Indians, I went in the market and spoke with let's say 50 plus entrepreneurs, and then the initial let's say out of initial 50% plus time, all the people I met, they were trying to do something or other to improve the performance of the athletes. And when we talk about the performance, because I was part of one of the biggest team in not only in India but Asia, I knew the kind of spends we are doing. And my simple thesis was that there is less than 10 million annual revenue opportunity in performance tech. Obviously it's important, it's happening, but what are the other areas other than performance tech where opportunities in sports tech are there? And I'm sure some of you are already exploring them. So Rohan, we can start from you, and then Shubhangi, and then Rishi.
I'll just pick my notes. No, but I mean, if you really think about it, the categories today that exist, right, broadly, I mean, one is analytics, which is very clear. Then you have marketplace, right, marketplace and aggregators, right, and then the third is more in the gaming space, and it's sort of, and really, if you think about it, like, where is the money going to come from, right? Because all these three categories are actually talking to the same people. Right? You're talking to the same 10 million, different decks you'll go through and you'll see different TAMs, the TAMs will keep changing, but by and large it'll be 10, 20 million, usse zyada hai nahi. Right? There isn't anybody. Right? And that also, like, what is the propensity to pay? It'll be like some 300, 500 rupees at the most. I mean, why is 70 sports today so successful? Right? Because people don't want to go to the other traditional sports goods sports shops and spend those 3,000 rupees on a bat, right? Because you'd much rather pick up a 1,000 rupee bat because I'll deal with it. So I think that's really where the So the categories that need to be created today, and I'll keep coming back to this, so apologies in advance for this, but like the category creation is actually what's required today, right? And I think that's like, how do we crack that bottom? And we shouldn't even really say the bottom. I say it's the top of the funnel, because it's actually the top of the funnel, because if you're talking about creating a culture of sport, which is something we keep saying that, like, if you're talking about creating a culture of sport, let's talk about that 90%. Let's talk about widening the top of the funnel. And as you get more, because excellence in sport will come when you have more. I mean, it's a simple input-output model, right? Like the more quality you get in, the more volume you get in, the more quality you get out of it. It's not that complicated, right? And which is where then the models that SportWatt is doing, what SFA is doing, then there are other people like Sprenzo, etc. and just Crick Heroes, and there's a lot. I'm going to single anyone out specifically, except SportWatt, who invested in. But I think that really, I think if there is a way to sort of create these categories where we can create discovery, where we can create access, where we can create an equal playing field, forgiving the pun, and that's because those are the models that where people, once they realize that there is an opportunity to pay and play literally, right? I think that's where the model will change. And I know this gentleman here who spoke about AI as well, right? And I feel like being able to sort of bring in, how do you bring in what would be the fringes, right? Of like people who are not going to be able to pay for performance analytics, and how do you bring them into the mainstream, right? I think those are those models need to happen, and part of it, having coming from a firm that does dual, like we do what we call a dual checkbook, for profit as well as non-profit, right? A large part of this will happen with philanthropy. It will, right? That might happen. But on the other hand, so some of these things will happen through philanthropy, but the other stuff is going to happen through for-profit models. And I think where we really need to focus is, where are those for-profit models solving for the 90%? This 10% is done.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's, so I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. I think I will put it in a different way, that I call it like bringing new money in the ecosystem. How you are bringing it, where you are, the category creation
you mean
comes
from
outside, in the sport.
Yeah.
How you are bringing, whether it can be in participation side, it can be through equipment, right? It can be in any which way or form, but how you are bringing new money in the ecosystem, that's what's, I think, very important. Until unless any model which is not doing that, which is still trying to play with the same money which is already there, is bound to fail. So from there, Shubhangi, what do you think? Because let's say you are, SportWatt is catering in one aspect, but what do you think in general, in sports tech, what are the opportunities out
To
there?
be honest, see, I think sports in general is a performance first industry. Everything in and around is going to end up at performance only, because everything is dependent on that. But to be honest, if SportWatt was not something I was doing, fan engagement is something I find very interesting, because end of the day, your first source of revenue is what you get. Either you get investments, you get donations, you get sponsors. Okay, everybody knows player participation. I feel in India only to a certain extent you can expect that. Kabaddi, I don't think there is a culture of player participation, by the way. So I think that as a concept might limit to only some elite sports. I think that is where fan engagement as a concept really comes in. I mean, it's a very grey area, it's a very debatable conversation what people think about RMG companies also. But even I look at that also as fan engagement only, right? Because if end of the day, of course, there is very limited opportunities of monetization. But if you are expecting your fans and your peers to support you in that ecosystem, is the next way to go. You can call it charity or fan engagement. I like to call it fan engagement.
No, absolutely. I think fan engagement, I will give my thoughts, but before that, Rishi, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I partly agree with what Shubhangi was also saying, that a large part of sports technology will be built to bring the fan closer to the game. To, personalizing that fan experience, only technology can do, nobody else can do that. And I see that is the largest play when it comes to technology, because other than that, all the other technologies that are coming or are getting built will be for the 1% that want to become, as she said, the champions or the performers. That's where science, technology, wearables, etc. will get. I mean, a lot of young athletes, aspiring athletes, who come from a decently financially stable background. Their parents might invest in giving those kids the wearable technology, etc. early in their stage. But other than that, between the pyramid, right, it's only the top 1% or less than 1% for whom sports science and sports technology becomes really applicable. And everything else that technology is doing is literally, bringing the fan closer, be it some fantasy gaming or be it, all these new, what are they called? Chashma they wear, AR, VR, etc. is all of that, because everybody will be able to watch a game the way they like. So that's something that is really engaging. But other than that, in the entire middle you're playing, right? So everything is towards you playing. So and the money needs to go in this ecosystem, because your coaches, your academies, your tournaments, all of them are struggling for money. They need money. If they get money, your sports tech will again open up 10 years out. But right now it's going to it has to be channelized in the areas which are going to drive a sports culture. If the culture comes right, all consumption will come. Today a fan is not even buying a 300 rupee jersey. They are not even buying a 200 rupee ticket. So where is technology playing a role in that space? That's pretty much what I kind of think.
Your fans are buying 2000 rupee smartwatches. Like at the same point, the consumer devices and tech that you're seeing the proliferation, right?
Yeah.
It's beyond what anyone expected. And they're also not at the most affordable points.
Yeah.
So when we say that wearable tech cannot be made accessible or will not become accessible, is it a values kind of conversation that they are not seeing the value in that, and should that be created? Or is it that technology is not caught up with what is required for?
I don't think both of them
I
are
don't think both
issues.
are true.
I think it's like I think,
Culture.
Yeah,
If there is a culture, right? Everything. Like today, when education is a culture in India. Everybody wants to study.
Right.
So today, that's why kids are using iPads. So first, get them to the ground, then expose them to 10 more things in that space. इधर खेल ही नहीं रहा है बच्चा और तुम बोलोगे ये वेरिएबल टेक पेन ले तो उसको कुछ कोरिलेशन ही नहीं है.
No, I think.
So
Sorry.
yeah, I'm done.
No, so just to add to that, right, and to what Shubhangi and Rishi have said, I think there's also motivation, right? Like, what is the motivation to purchase? Because the motivation to, I don't understand much, but I do know people, and I think for me, it's about the motivation is there could be swag value, there could be, it could be like monitoring your steps, etc. But it's not people like I think in the Indian mindset, especially in the urban upper class, there is a disconnect between health and sport.
Yes.
Right, and that's what they're also saying, the fan engagement, because when you start to correlate those two, like you go to Australia is like everybody plays sport, everybody's outdoors, it hasn't happened overnight, right? It's been cultivated because you just like everyone has access to sport all the time. Right? And I think that's the fundamental thing. So whereas I'll buy a Mumbai Indians jersey, I don't know how much it costs, but
it will cost less this year. That information.
People will still go and buy duplicates on
but my point is you still take the trouble of buying it, right? And that's also that is the start of a sporting. I'm not the biggest. I'm probably the worst advocate in this room for IPL, but at the same time, at least that is the start of a sporting culture. Somewhere there is some fan engagement happening, but even that, you talk to anyone in the ecosystem and they'll tell you that it's not.
Shubhangi, you wanted to say something?
I think in fan engagement, one interesting concept that I came across in US was there was a company called Noarka who had a lot of old footages of old football games of Korea of 1940s, 1930s. They took out all archival content. They tried to make it into NFTs. That time NFT was really booming. So they actually partnered with us. We tried to create a tech कि वो highlight capture कर रहे हैं, and they're animating it in a way that people can in future buy those sort of like baseball card sort of a system they were trying to do. I think if NFT was not involved in that whole communication and ecosystem, I think that is also different fan engagement that could have absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think all three of you have captured the main points, but let me put them in some other buckets. Because first of all, fan engagement, and that's where I think we are talking about the jersey part as well. I think probably only licensed product in India which has been successful so far is the 999 jersey of Adidas during the Cricket World Cup.
It was sold out.
Yeah, so almost I think if my numbers are correct, 8 to 10 lakh units were sold. That's somewhere in the range of 80 to 100 CR. That's almost 10 times, or not even 10, even 20 times of what Mumbai Indians does. So that's twice what, not twice, even thrice or 4 times of the entire IPL teams combined, 10 teams. So I think it's not that people are not ready to buy, and that same thing will come to, it's just that motivation. Like you have to give them right. Indian users are today ready to pay, but we are still value driven users. There has to be some value attached to it. So then I think fan engagement is not only about AR, VR, or it's not only about, let's say, the content which we see, like the most of the innovation in the last 15 years has been in the broadcast tech. That is also fan engagement. But I think fan engagement is also, and I was having the conversation with Abhishek that day, that on content side, there are only like 2 or 3 good websites. You go, if any of you follow any of European teams, football teams, on one team there are 15 or 20 websites which are making a living, and 20 plus, I'm sure their teams are 15 to 20 members, right? Why can't that happen? India has so many regional languages, dialects. There's only one sports kida, right? Why can't there be 50 sports kidas? So that is also fan engagement, right? Giving those juicy stories. Bollywood does it very brilliantly, right? All the influencers you see. So that has to come. That is also part of fan engagement. Then merchandise, which we just talked about, that is also part. So fan engagement, I think, is probably the biggest. Esports and gaming, I think I don't really understand it because I don't play. But yeah, from the business side of it, I think you will have to do it. Like not everyone is like me and Rohan who don't want to play, want to go out and play, but people are playing, right? All the data is pointing towards that. So it will be foolish of me if I say that no, that's not a big one, but it's probably, if you go outside, worldwide if you see, esports and gaming is bigger than sports and entertainment, like sports and movies combined. So that's the potential, and in India I think PUBG numbers, if any of you have seen, is a testament that mobile gaming is going to be big. Then I think you also talked about data. Yeah, so
I think again esports is moving because the fan engagement concept is much higher over there. The concept of player profiles, NFTs, mujhe vote karo, mera ye skin kharido is a concept that has been going on since day one in esports. I think that is why they are also able to self-sustain. In sports, that's not the culture at all. I think it's more a mindset problem.
yeah, I think a good point. I think today if you see many gamers asking for money on their YouTube channels and all. If tomorrow some of our young athlete starts doing that, many of us will start mocking them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, very good point, I think. Then data and analytics, I think we are still very far away from analytics because there is no data. First we will have to capture, right? If today we want to be number 1 at some point in time in Olympics, we will have to start with the base of 1 million, 10 million kind of base. And from there, from age 5, 6, so there is no data. I think you can touch upon that aspect. Like I think there are 10,000 athletes you are saying in Khelo India. How many of those athletes have proper profiles and their data points are being tracked? So if you can touch upon.
At SFA we have 4 lakh athletes data at this point in time. We've done across 9 years, every match that has been played, not just statistics and analytics but also video data. Of up to now 400,000 athletes have played, unique athletes have played on our platform. So we do have that data. That's the start of it. Some of our technology now gets deployed to Khelo India, youth games, to the national games, etc. So now we've started capturing that data as well. Along with the government, we've just launched a assessments platform, which is the aim is that in the next 5 years to capture the various parameters of close to 80 lakh athletes in its first 5-year journey, and raw talents is again the technology that we've made. It's called Kirti. Anyone can go and see it also. It's developed by us, and so that's the space in which the data capture etc. started to happen. I forgot your question, but
No, I will come back to it. So my point was that today we talk about, let's say, many people start talking about data analytics, but for that data has to be there.
Correct. So you have
Yes.
to build it ground up, right? I mean, see, that's where there's an opportunity for a company like SportsWorld because there are competitions that are happening. What they don't know is what they know. So might as well go and put it together, right? I mean, we started off building everything ourselves because at that point in time there were no service providers that were available. But I think in that journey we learned a lot because we were never going to do events without technology. But it was really hard at the start to put it together. And now we've kind of, tried to make it getting better each passing day. I mean, we make 100 more mistakes in tech than we do in sport. But we are trying to kind of get it as close as it can. So yeah, I mean, taking it to the micros, right, will probably create a very large data set, but then there will have to be a center. So we'll have to put it, right? So one of the reasons why what we do is, I'll just give a little example if that's fine. See, today when kids are playing, right, at the age of 8, 9, 10, 11, somebody's coming first in their building, somebody's coming first in their school, somebody's coming first in that little competition that they played. So the parents are feeling that, oh wow, my child is going to become a champion. He's already coming first everywhere. Then there is another set of parents, where they are thinking that, oh, my child is 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. So maybe there is no scope. So it's a state of, it's a very big blind spot. And that's why at the start I said that we're trying to build one unifying sports platform across the country. Because say today if a 10-year-old is running in, say 100 meters in 12 seconds and coming first, say in a Bombay SFA championship or in a Bombay competition, I can immediately connect that data to say that somebody in Uttarakhand is running at 11.7 and this is the coach that is training him.
Correct.
So you all both can talk together. And so if I get to know today that, oh wow, my child is amongst the top 100 in India, then as a parent, I will want to go and buy all the wearable tech, etc., everything and put that out there. Because इधर क्या है 16 साल तक पता ही नहीं चलता. Till you don't reach a national championship, till you don't qualify for the nationals, you just don't know. And by the time you qualify for the nationals in this ecosystem, you are dead as an athlete. You can't represent your country. So this is really what needs to come together.
So
just to add, I mean, I've lived in the US for a very long time, and if you look at the way sports is organized, it's almost like you take somebody, just like a Barcelona or someone.
Yes.
You take them out of that cradle and say, we're going to take care of your kid.
Yes.
We're going to sign a contract.
Yes.
And we're going to make sure that that kid is going to be in the right sport or right whatever, be it baseball or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's because in the US you've got a very organized system of sports.
Yes.
Plus, you've got a very organized ecosystem where people are ready to cut checks at multiple levels to sponsor them, right?
Yes.
So you've got buyers, sellers, and you've got a great ecosystem in between, and all the tech is secondary, right?
Yes.
India is such a huge country.
Yes.
I think AI, whatever you want to call it, scouting talent would be the first part, right? Just like you have scouts that go out in the universities and schools. But how do you reach billions? In our case, our cohort is 100 million? Less than 16 or 15? That's a huge number. And you're never going to have enough people trained to go out and actually do that work. I mean, I admire what you guys are doing, it's amazing. But what if you use technology to just push along that whole thing?
That's where it's the enabler, right? That's
So the
people are
scouting-
doing it, they don't have, that's why there's the
It's an AI
opportunity for
scout.
sport work, right? To be able to go out there
Exactly,
and
that's
empower them with technology.
That's the name of the company, Scout. There is one company based out of UK.
Yes.
And Reliance Foundation young champs use them to do the first level of
They
scouting.
have the NBA champion, they've tied up with the NBA as well, right? Reliance Foundation.
Yeah, that's
one
another part. That's
part of
for
it. Okay.
basketball. This was primarily for football.
Hmm.
But see again, there the point is that at the end of the day, today we are importing a lot of technology. And I think from Indian context today, consumption, no one doubts that in India consumption is going to happen around sports. Now the way Indian startup ecosystem is maturing, boggling for them, they have to come to them. There is no other way, right? So going back to I think the data capture part, because 4 lakh out of 1.4 billion or even at 8 million, it's nothing, right? Because whenever we talk about our failure in the Olympics, we always talk about a country of 1.4 billion, right? But we don't see the context of how many of those 1.4 billion are getting the facilities, are getting the, proper sports science and nutrition, technology, everything to develop them. And that too from age 6. You rightly mentioned they get everything. So today if you talk about Indian athletes after the age of 16, I think they are probably getting more care than their counterparts outside India. But that has to happen at the age of 5 or 6. So I think that is data capture and analytics is another. Coming to I think Rohan's point, development through sports is going to be very, very massive aspect of it, because not everything can be done from the aspect of profit making. And that's where I think the models and that's where I think Indian government did brilliant when they included sports in the categories where you can donate or where you can contribute through CSR. And that's why today if you see the likes of Reliance, JSW, Tata have been doing it for long. So
but just on CSR, that's only 2% of all CSR giving
but
is in
even,
sport. And no, point is like more money goes to, not a political statement at all, more money goes to cows and temples than it does to sport in this country, in CSR.
Yeah, that's okay, but still let's say 10 years back, even if you see today, I know Reliance's numbers, around 200 CR is being spent. That was 10 years back, right? Yeah. So that's the new money which is coming.
Yeah. It's a start. It's a start. I mean,
but
yeah, okay.
And I think so. Those are primarily the ones. If I have missed anything, any of the parts in terms of the buckets. So I think that was. I have last question on. I think
Just interject and ask more from curiosity. Does business models work in India?
About
how are you making money?
In sports?
Yes. In sports tech, rather.
I think Shubhangi is the right person.
So I think with us also, we started first with streaming, content, data capturing, the whole tech enabler. Especially in India, I think we realized that there is a point where people will pay for streaming. Because I think in India, even though there are budgets being sanctioned, I don't think they're reaching the lower tier levels. Right, there are only few. If in Mumbai also, I think every weekend there must be at least 500 tournaments happening every weekend, and only 10 or 15 must have that capacity to spend on streaming. So I think that is where we have now started exploring different ways. I think the second most is of course monetization. If you are capturing content data at base level, I think monetization is a no-brainer. Of course, it's a longer battle to fight, but I think it's getting there. And then third is where you start scaling internationally, because I think internationally is somewhere where people appreciate sports at that matter, that they spend at every single thing that makes their kid be the best. So internationally, there are a lot of ways that you can partner, enable streaming, highlights. Aajkal, there are different demands that we have started coming in, that people want highlights tech now. They want fast 5 seconds content. I don't want to watch the whole match. And people are willing to pay for that internationally. Although I don't think I see that happening in India anytime soon. So I think that is there. Then I think participation, like people said, that there are ways that you can, just host smaller tournaments. There are a lot of turfs that you can, I think one of them mentioned that they are also trying to set up in turfs. So in there also, when we speak to turf owners, 50% of the slots are not filled because nobody's playing sports in general. In casual gaming, I'm not even talking professionally. Casually also people have started giving up on physical activities and sports in general. So I think that is also a shift that might drive soon and probably have different sources of revenue in sports again.
Have you seen how Twitch works?
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So do you know this kid called Daigo Umehara? So he was 14 or 15 years old, I think it was, and he was playing Street Fighter in a small little gaming zone in Tokyo, and Akihabara. That's the district. I've been there. All these kids come there. There are people who actually come and film them and put them on Twitch, because these guys who are in the gaming business, entertainment arts and all of these guys, they actually are training people at that age to be their ambassadors. Now, I'm just trying to think about this from your perspective. You've got the streaming data. He's got other data in terms of statistics, etc. What if you combine that?
I think
Wherever
that's-
there's an overlap in writing, what about a channel? Like in Instagram, some dude can sell some plant that's growing in some coconut farm. Right? And by the way, I'm mentoring a bunch of students in Narsi Manji. Some of them have already done what? Some 30 by 40 lakhs of sales in 2 months. I was quite astonished and shocked at the same time. And being their mentor, I had to say, very nice. EBITDA kitna hua? But forget EBITDA and everything aside. I mean, why can't we reimagine it like that?
I think that is exactly that even they conducted championships, we help them in streaming. I think it will always go hand in hand. I don't think we can all do it standalone. Companies cannot, sports is end of the day, okay, there are individual sports, team sports, but in a way to make anything happen, it has to be a team effort. Their expertise in setting the process in associations, which I have never been able to figure out, to be honest. I tried for 1 year, I failed. Okay, but tech is something we can do. Monetization, marketing is something we can do. So I think that is why partnerships.
We must be amongst their top 3 clients.
I mean,
Sorry?
if you've got the
among
data,
Yeah, I think top one of the
see,
top
right
3
now in your
clients.
valuation story, you're going to use the data more than anything else, right?
So? No.
You're not?
See, you will use data and all of that, right? But impact.
Impact.
I mean, eventually that's the impact, but the data is at the core of everything, right? I mean, just think about it. If I
I'll
was
tell you up to now,
you,
we raised our last money at a $100 million valuation, okay? $100 million valuation, we raised our last money. We've raised 20 or close to $20 million in our journey.
So we are getting
But we
numbers.
have never spoken about it. We have never done any PR about it. Probably today we are the largest valued grassroots development company in the country.
Right.
But we have not done any PR because that's not something we are proud about. That is a part of the process. It's a part of the journey to actually make that impact, right? So when you get there, then everything makes sense.
How much do you buy from Fab India?
Fab India.
Fab India, how many people buy from Fab India? How are their
Everyone.
margins?
Good.
What are their margins?
I
Just
don't
take a
think.
gander.
Could be like 50% or something.
Oh, 3x, 4x.
Oh, really?
5x.
Yeah, that's clothing.
Yeah, they agree. What I'm trying to say is,
Yeah.
what is their positioning in your mind? Is it a marketing company?
Great
growth
product
company, or
at a
social
great
company?
price.
No,
Both.
It's a social company.
Correct.
I think
Backed
it's
by
a social company which
backed
know
by
how
a
to
social company,
market.
backed by a social cause, but they
Yeah.
make tremendous amounts of money.
Yeah, correct.
So what I'm trying to say here is going back to what you were saying before, huge social cause, huge cause for sports in the country.
Yes.
Maybe it's just about positioning it in a way which is more about, hey, this is what India is going to benefit and get an impact from. Money is just going to help us
But
get there faster.
that's exactly why what we put out there is the impact that we've created, not the money that we have raised. You know, because I don't think today grassroots sport, you can't glorify while you need all the money. That's why we have to work in the background to get all this money, right? To be able to actually do what we are doing. I think it's too soon. At least we are. I think I'm very responsible for the moral responsibility, so to speak, which is self-assumed. It's not somebody that tells you, but I don't want to go into that fantasy gaming route or that, you know, tech startup kind of thing, that because I used to have journalists ask me questions, कितना पैसा raise किया तो मैं तेरा interview लूँगा. Like,
I want to get that.
हाँ, that's not what you're talking to me for, right? तू बोल कितना कमाया उसका interview ले, no problem. कितना revenue बनाया, profit making करा, फिर जाके पैसा रेज करा, तो कैसे किया तो मैं आंसर देने को तैयार हूँ. पर तू बोलेगा इतना वैल्यूएशन लिया, इतना पैसा रेज किया, वो बता, फिर मैं तेरा इंटरव्यू लेता हूँ. नहीं, मैंने योर स्टोरी को ना बोला है. बोला मैं तेरे को इंटरव्यू नहीं दूंगा अगर तू ये क्वेश्चन पूछने वाला है मेरे को तो. Because what will happen now, it will influence, even if it influences 20 more startup founders now, then you are galvanizing a different movement where the industry, the base is only not set. Let's set the base and let's take it from there, no? Fintech, all that I understand, e-commerce, etc. I completely understand. It is a direct function of money. But, you know, so much more money has been raised in grassroots level sport, but all of that has gone to dumps. So many companies have shut down. So you put in money where it is needed, because there any which way is less money available in this sector. So let it go into the right philosophies rather than, you know, just going into
all over the place.
yeah.
So just one point.
No, I'm just what I'm trying to give my
No,
thoughts
I
around
get,
this.
I
Not
get you. By the way, I had my own
Yeah.
startup in the US that I exited successfully, and
Yeah.
then I came into consulting.
Huh.
Okay, prior to that I was with the Tatas.
Correct.
So on that point, is the government policy helping?
There's two sides to every startup founder.
Yeah.
There's the story that is what you believe in, and then there's a story that you need to raise money. Because let's face the truth, once you start building an organization and it comes to a certain level, incentives, economic incentives work better than anything else.
Correct.
Unfortunately, and that is how
Absolutely.
everybody is wired.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's why maybe philanthropy has a huge angle to play more than anything else, to support passion. Right? But philanthropy beyond a point starts getting
Not
something
sustainable.
not sustainable.
Absolutely.
So I'm just saying, as you carve out spaces, you may want to carve out some white spaces to start experimenting with something on the side. It doesn't necessarily belong to the ethos of what you're trying to do. But it's worth a shot.
One point, I think let's go back to the question what Naveen asked. We have gone on a tangent here. When it is about, let's say, business models, we are focused mainly about the performance side of it, the professional side of it, the pathways. There is a very big aspect, I think initially we touched upon, health and sports. That is one same thing. Like today, if I am starting at the age of, let's say, 30, playing something, then that will come in the casual side of it. I might continue till the age of 60, 70, 80, right? That's why the two new sports, like the pickleball, it primarily started because it's great for people in their 60s or 70s to play. So I think on the performance side, all of what you guys are doing is very, very important, and that's how the performance has to be at the center. But I think coming to business model side of things, when it is about casual things where companies have built their business models, it's about the other side of human psychology, like what your Instagram has done, right? It's basically the instant gratification side of things. You have to capture that side. That's where your Crick Heroes has built their entire business model, right? Because today, even at the age of 45, let's say, I'm bowling something, taking a wicket, I really want to put that clip on my social media because that's the gratification I'm seeking. If at the age of, let's say, 60, I'm finishing Mumbai Marathon, I want to put that timing, right? So I think that aspect of it is very important, and I think that money in that casual segment, the money will come from the audience or the consumers rather than performance side. Sometimes in performance, consumer and customer are very different. So that's why I think here more of your grassroots will require philanthropy, but at some point in time, your casual side of things will become way bigger than your professional side of things. Because professional, the boom is, last point, professional, the boom is more or less over, I will say. You will see the IPL valuations 10 years down the line, not going to change way too much because of the consolidation. The new companies, the new unicorns, if that's what some of you are looking for headlines, will come from the participation side.
Sorry, and maybe this answers your question and the point that you were making as well, and so also to clarify what I said earlier, right? Like, I almost imagine this as a continuum, right? Where we are today is that there has been massive development. I mean, you look at the report yesterday that Group M put out on sports, right? In 71, it's quite depressing actually, because it says 71% of revenue or 71% of all spends are still in top tier cricket, right? It's 29% for the rest of you, which is just terrible. But if you really look at this as a continuum, right? Continuum in that today we have all this performance, elite level stuff that's going on in cricket and some of the Olympic sports, right? But you don't really have participative sport happening. I've seen in the last 20 years that has been changing, right? So you're seeing more and more people coming in, the efforts that SFA is putting in, what Sportwater is doing. So you'll probably see more participation sort of, happen here. And I think over a period of time, as the propensity to spend increases, as the willingness to spend increases, I think that automatically will enable new businesses to sort of, and what Anand was just talking about, right, in the participative space. As more businesses come up, but I think the question that, and then that sort of has, further downstream impact, right? But I think the question that we're asking is, or rather we're trying to solve for, which is where philanthropy can play a part, is can we short circuit that a little bit, right? It will take us naturally maybe 15 years, but can philanthropy, for example, go in and say, hey, we'll really look at rural development programs for gender inclusion, for example, right? Which is what ABFT Abhinav Bindas Foundation is doing. And like sort of move that along. Because what that is going to do in Assam, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, where they're operating, maybe instead of the girls sort of getting to playing badminton and volleyball and I think hockey, in 8 or 10 years time, they'll do it in 2 years time, right? Because then that changes the dynamics of participative sport and therefore the sort of spending ecosystems quite dramatically, right? So I think that's really what we're sort of grappling with, I suppose, at this point in time. And then again, like philanthropy, what can tech do to sort of again accelerate that process? I don't think we've figured it out. I mean, I know that's a very disappointing outcome at the end of the conversation, but I don't think having been in the ecosystem at 20 years.
No, so one point, I think it's not everything is gloomy. If you see,
it's not. I'm saying it's moving, right? Yeah. It's moving, and forums like this obviously help.
I think that's the opportunity, honestly. And what we do with that data, right, is really what will create the value.
Yeah.
So data alone will not give me the valuation. What I am being able to do with that data, outcome, yes, is really what the value driver is going to be for the foreseeable future. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Because on the participatory side as well, if you see companies like Huddle and Play, what they have been able to achieve, plus what now Cult Fit, if we take, let's say, health side of it within sports, because at the end of the day, your people in 30s, 40s, 50s are not going to play for, some of them still play for masters level of international tournaments, but most of it is to keep fit. I think at that level, if you see the numbers of, I think someone shared the numbers of Huddle, there are the most number of people, the most number of profiles, the players they have are in badminton. There are around 800k players, 8 lakh players, and the second best is somewhere at 1 lakh. So if you see the kind of on participatory side, the amount of money being spent in racket sports, if you go especially to the southern side of India, let's say especially Bangalore and Hyderabad, the amount of money they are spending on playing sport is tremendous. And I think that's why, because in cricket, there is great, like there is 1.1 billion annual deal of IPL and then another 200 million for BCCI rights and then another 700 million for ICC rights per year. But on participatory side, other than equipment, how many people are going, I'm not talking about box cricket, I'm talking about like other part of it, how many people are going, booking grounds, and so there is no income there, right? Whereas in football, badminton, tennis, golf, I think all these, again it will, I think, come hand in hand with India's economic, the booming middle class as well. And at some point in time you will see, and today you might call me a fool, but I think that participatory economy within next 10 years will be way bigger than the broadcast side of things.
I think one very beautiful business that has made an entry into India to drive this is Decathlon.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, right? I mean, I think that's, you've got to learn a lot from that.
With high profit margins.
They've done it all over Europe.
All over the Europe,
And,
exactly.
but in India, they're with a high profit
when you
margins.
can buy a 300 rupee badminton racket, right? When you can wear a 700 rupee good looking shoe and run. You are attracting people to play sport. It's fantastic.
And it's always like, no matter, you will see like the economic strata that you see
outstanding.
any outstanding.
That's what is needed, right? That's what is needed.
That's access, no?
That's access.
That's access.
That's
Talking
access,
about
that's
because-
absolutely. And they are also a data business. But it's
Talking about data business, I mean, just wanting to situate it to international level. Like if you see, I mean, the typical concept, if you see Premier League and all was football, like in English Premier League and all. Slowly we copied and made Indian Premier League, and we are highly successful in one way. I mean, people can debate it, but then it's a fact that probably Modi was traveling in England and he saw that and all that stuff. So we know a little bit of it. I have been privy to some information. So having said that, if you see Moneyball, if the baseball is big in this thing, football league is big in US. You have data analytics, maybe you can also add comment. Data analytics is very big, like, they use the players in terms of the contribution and to the extent of thing. Here also, I see some analytics coming in, okay? Even in the cricket, I mean, Anil Kumble started this 10-week kind of a stuff, and where he has started some analytics kind of stuff. I wanted to throw it a bigger way in terms of, see, are we using the data, leveraging data in a big way, not only in cricket, for the IPL kind of a stuff, for the test matches, for even the badminton, because many times you see a badminton Indian coming up to the top level but then lose in the finals kind of stuff. And even if you see other sport like hockey, we were very good, but then somewhere we're not having the kind of infrastructure, not the data utilization or tech utilization kind of stuff, so we are failing. So is there anything which ecosystem like you and others can do in terms of helping India to leverage this and maximum?
I mean, the short answer is at the elite level, there's enough data analytics. There's a lot of
yeah,
good
IPL,
data
because they have a lot of money, teams have a lot of money,
Yeah,
they can do
so-
that. But
so-
there are a lot of other games like hockey and then
but that's exactly what
badminton.
we're saying, right? Like it has to percolate now to the grassroots. And I think that's where the opportunities are: cost-effective business models, efficient business models that are low cost as well. I think that's really how do you get there. And the other part is that's only the product side, and then how do you get the supply, right? Like how do you get people to actually buy? You get people to buy through a culture of sport, right? To getting people to realize that, hey, this is actually valuable. The same way I need a good report card, this is how I need a good report. I mean, it's a part of it is a mindset shift.
So just one point, the same company which has been providing analytics to the national team and all the IPL teams for national team last 20 years and IPL team since inception, the same company has been providing analytics to hockey Indian national team for last 10-12 years.
Which company you're
The
talking
name
about?
is Sports Mechanics, Mr. Ramki. Right, so that company has been doing it for multiple sports, and it's not costly, to be honest. So I think analytics is there. Only thing is, if your point is, can it come to grassroots? I think today, yes, definitely it can come. Like what you are also talking about, Spectacom, which also Anil Kumble founded. Today, IoT technology is completely outdated. Whatever used to be done by IoT today, computer vision, AI, ML can do the same thing at throwaway cost, right? So I think democratization of technology has already happened, and technology will further democratize all these aspects. Like 10 years back, the kind of analytics which was available to, let's say, SRT is in next 5 years the same kind of analytics can be available for a grassroots cricketer. So tech is going to do that democratization. So I think that's not an issue. Tech is there, and I think people are using it as well. Computer vision will, I think, help a lot of it. You are already building video resumes of athletes and things like
Yeah,
that.
I think that is already happening. So because of all the content and data capturing, we're doing real-time highlights. So as of today, there are players who are actually using those as a resume to get better opportunities. It's just, I think we'll need some time. There are a lot of players in the country. There are a lot of sports. I think it might take few years. I think 3 to 4 years, we might reach a point that they are doing such professional tournaments in the entire country, and we are the ones who are able to give access of content and data. I think few years, and I think we'll be there in every sport.
Just one point, we are open for questions if some of you have not realized.
So, yeah, I have a question to the panel. So how do we change the mindset of the brands towards community and grassroots sports? Right now they are more focused on
Truly don't believe in the whole traditional mindset of कि okay 50 लाख में आपको पीछे 2 perimeter लगेगा, इसमें आपको helmet पे logo लगेगा. I think that's a very wrong way to sell any sport to any brand. I think it has to be more that if somebody like Amul को आप जाके बोलो summer time है, summer vacation है, do a school tournament together in Gujarat if they want to start with or something. So I think that is the approach that we'll have to do. And I think the first is mindset. Stop looking it as a sponsorship or donation. That's a step one.
Yeah, please go.
And also I'll candidly say, having done that, right? Like I think a large part of the people who have the money to spend are just plain lazy. They have no imagination. But on the other hand, it's also that what will I get? Like, will I get the next superstar? Right? Sarfaraz Khan had to wait 8 years to get his shot at test him, and then he makes a 50 on debut. But nobody, when they saw Sarfaraz Khan playing in school, would have even imagined that he's going to have to wait 8 years, right? So it's all a lottery, right? When you're trying to get the next superstar, and I don't think people get that. And I think therefore it's really about, like what Shubhangi is saying, is like, I think brands, like when you're talking about grassroots sports, I also feel like, and what again SFA is doing, is you need a little bit of reimagination. So it's not enough to say, okay, we're doing this tournament, so tali bajao. No, right? What are you building? How is it related to what your overall objective is? And I think some of that is very, very important, right? Like that, I don't want to call it the story, but it's really like the impact. We've been talking about impact a lot, right? And like, what is the impact that you're going to create, and how can you as a brand be a part of that journey of impact, right? Because ultimately that's what you want to create, right? Because you want to be able to say that, hey, we made this change, right? So imagine like you can either discover one player, or you can create a, I keep using this phrase, but culture of sport, entire district, state, whatever, right? I think that's really the power of, like, that's what you have the opportunity to do through grassroots.
I think one very small point on that. See, we have to stop making villains out of the brand managers as well.
No, they are villains only.
No, but see, at the end of day, for them, it's bank, like basically where is the most ROI. And they are not wrong in that, because for them, keeping their job is attached. It's directly proportional to that, right? You as a sports, you have to go and tell them that's what they are doing. That let's say for 100,000 impressions, you are going to spend this much on YouTube. Come, we will give you same amount of impressions along with a very beautiful story, right? That you are creating an impact.
Yeah, I think brands
have to do that.
To make, brands will ask for ROI, and there's nothing wrong in asking for ROI. पैसा है ना किसी का तो. So you have to create a property that is going to give that ROI. You can't sit like saying, okay, so. Like we are making all, like we got our property on Jio Cinema now. SFA Championships is now on Jio Cinema. With this entire thing of make the property good enough for brands to find this as a viable option. Then it will continue. Otherwise, then it's like just CSR. What is impact is CS. Then get CSR funds.
But impact is one time thing.
No, but I think impact is also ROI.
It is.
The point, right?
It is. But it will be. See, that's exactly why some grassroots level need vision calls.
Correct.
Right. But there is a ROI on that vision, no?
Yeah, but you can grow the brand through that impact also.
Correct. So position it differently. Then you will have different, and there are different pots to pitch to. Right? Today, if you are going to go and pitch it to an FMCG, probably the brand manager will only want ROI.
Correct. Numbers.
Right? But you go and pitch it to a Tata or somebody who's building the nation like an L&T or anybody of that sort. It's a very different way or a very different approach that they will have, right?
Yeah.
So,
this just coming back
so
to your
it
point.
needs to be किसी का भी पैसा लो उसका वैल्यू तो तुम्हें देना ही पड़ेगा impossible
He had a question before that. Yeah.
So the way we look at sports is not just kids or people got to play till the age of 20 or 25. For me, I started running very long in my life when I was very unhealthy at the age of 28, 29. So the way I look at sports is something that can keep me engaged, happy, fit, completely transform my life for the next 30 years. Okay, and India has been evolving. Running has been just one of the single sports which has been doing that for India in the last 10 years. Okay, so I just wanted to understand what is your view on that part of sports shaping up. More people are taking up badminton, etc. So how does, when we visit European countries, when we visit New Zealand, Australia, America, we see that sports is a part and parcel of life, not just for the first 20-25 years. It's a part and parcel of life for 60 years.
So
how will that shape up? How we can do to shape that up?
Yeah, so just I did it. So I will request you to also go just Google it. What is the economy of all these countries? India is top 5, but at the end of the day, then see the side number, which is per capita income. US is at 80,000. Your China is at 13,000. We are at 2.5, right? So at the end of the day, मतलब there is this saying in Hindi, भूखे पेट न होए भजन गोपाला. So first, India has to take care of the basic things. Sports will come once our, like let's say if this is your pyramid, most of India is here. Like if you go 2000, I think 80% of the country is below $2,000 per capita per annum kind of income. So once you go above that, all these things will start happening, and we will go.
No, I agree what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying. I don't even consider we are 140 crores now, 140 crores population हमारा. Forget about the 90%. Even the proportionate of people who can afford that. Okay, people can afford a 15,000 shoes, or even with Decathlon, running shoes come at 2,000 rupees. But even they are not taking it up. So
how to make it inclusive
even
for
if
a
they are
category?
even the if you see the percentage of people who are engaging in sports, people who have the luxury, the money, the time, even they are not doing it. And how? What I want to understand is how will this industry shape up, or what is the views on this industry?
Not doing what?
Engaging into sports or fitness activities.
But you're seeing the same guys who are running, right?
Not everyone. He's saying
Not
how do you make it more
The
inclusive?
proportion of people into running or other sports is still very less. Only one sports like running has really come up. What other things can come up? Or
How do you make it more mass, right, in short?
Culturally.
You have kids?
Yes.
How many kids do you have?
One.
How old?
6 years old.
6, and what he or she plays what sport?
So we have put her into taekwondo, gymnastics, etc.
And let's say if he or she,
she,
if she wanted to make a career out of taekwondo at 14, 15, you'd back her on that, right?
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, and I think, and would your parents have done that when you were 14, 15?
I think so. I was not good at it.
No, but I'm saying, let's say you were, would like for example, when I was playing cricket, I was allowed to miss my 10th standard prelims, and I failed them. But I think, and my parents were totally okay with it, right? And so, I think that's where the what I'm trying to get at is, it's actually when attitudes will stretch, and that is the I know it sounds like a really dull answer, but to my, and I've been doing this been involved since I was 13, right, in sport, and that's the only answer, right? Is and so the biggest thing that we can do is how can we stretch people's imagination to expand and allow sport to become as mainstream as academics, right? I mean, and sorry, I know I've spoken a bit, but I'll just say this, right? The reason people want their children to be a doctor or an engineer is not because you need to know where the right ventricle is or how to make a rocket, right? But you just want them to have a good life. What if we could tell the world that the path to a good life is also through just sport?
Yeah, but that is that's a bit lip service, but
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
His approach is how do you make public health agenda and the recreational athlete part of the segment grow? You are answering the professional or the aspiring.
No, I'm not. I'm saying it's also I'm saying it's a culture. See, because not everyone's going to make it to elite level, right? Let's begin there.
No, there are two different segments.
No, but there aren't.
No, they are. He's
No,
questioning
so
on the
Rohan-
recreational athlete segment.
So, sir,
I'm talking about recreation only.
Let me answer your question, if I have understood it correctly. See, at the end of the day, if you really want anyone to why all of us are here, right? Because we have some or other inclination, right? And at the end of the day, everyone trusts that TiE, if they are organizing something, it will be of a good standard, right? So you also have to incentivize people, you have to change their imagination. Why running became cool? Because you saw all your Bollywood celebrities, all your business tycoons start doing that. Why do you think today golf is cool? Because all your people are playing, all your ex-cricketers are playing. You have to make it cool as well, right? Because many people, it's great that, right? Everyone, all of us know that eating salad is great, right? How many of you do? Right? But everyone knows, right? Correct? But still we are not doing it. Same is with sports, right? You have to change, you have to make it cool. If let's say from and I was taking pride in front of my wife a couple of days back that I eat salad, and then she deduced that I had a very disciplined, my mother kept me very disciplined, that's why I eat it. So you have to make it cool. Let's say tomorrow all your celebrities come and say on their reels, if they start putting their diets as well, maybe it might change. So even in let's say what your popular culture is doing, that also sometimes shapes up that interest.
No, but if
That's
someone
exactly what I'm-
plays golf and I want to play and go and play golf, where will I go and play golf?
No, so then running or cycling, you have to make.
No,
and that is a very important point, and
No,
that is
it's
the
not
access.
that.
But that is also the access, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly where like
Decathlon comes up.
like decathlon or even
But all
weddings.
the sports in India, we have made them expensive sports. We have
Correct.
done sports of reach. If you, I mean, most of us have stayed in the US or Australia. How much of the time that you spend at this age playing sports in outside country, whereas in inside in India? In India, you have many people who haven't played cricket but talk a lot about cricket. In the US, you won't find people like that. And that also is the case why people don't sponsor, because they haven't played. And they are sitting in the shoes of a brand manager. And he's looking at ROI. ROI is definitely there. But he wants to hear the way he wants to hear it. So that's the problem. So,
That's a very good point.
because I have played so many sports, and after coming back to India, I don't play any sport at all. In the US, you have bowling, you have basketball, you have tennis, you have access to a lot of different sports, and you can play any time of the day.
I think just if I can answer that, I think at the end of the day it comes from how much drive you have. Like let's say at
No,
one
no,
point-
it's not the question. It's not the
Access,
question.
access.
But that is also a policy thing, right? Which is where like you have like there's Khelo India centers today, and I mean, and they'll know more. But I think that is also changing, and I think that's the constant theme of the things
We
are
need to
changing.
give time. What I would like to
Yeah,
say,
please.
we need to give time. Sports and kudos to y'all. Y'all are the pioneers in the sports field. So, but give the time. See, what happened to cricket? If you see cricket, cricket in India became popular only after 1983 World Cup. Okay, only after Sachin Tendulkar was born, everyone wants to do cricket, and today BCCI is the richest board in the world. Before that, 90s, it did not have money. Sports tech, we are having a panel discussion. It's a big thanks. Let's thanks TiE. So it will take time, yeah, but we have to do it. So ROI, saying ROI shouldn't come first, that's not that, and that's good that you all agree to ROI. SROI will come in, but it will take some time. And only one thing, when you said, let's put reels and all these things, I would just say, let the culture develop on its own. नहीं तो क्या होगा, social media, let not false things come in, let it develop on its own. What is it? So let it go slow. That is
one point which I'm getting from that is that I'm one thing is that for everything to succeed, in fact I was about to tell the same thing, the kind of celebrities who come into the picture. I was just telling, it's a lip service when you were telling, like, unless until there is a public-private participation and the government kind of everybody come together and then work toward, there is a public service advertising of celebrities in other areas. Like, okay, in edutech, for example, if Shah Rukh Khan does for Baiju, it's understandable, it's a commercial kind of a thing. But there's a public service advertising in various other fields, but not in sports. Why can't there be a kind of public-private participation along with the government, tripartite kind of meetings wherein they ask the celebrities to advertise, like, there are people who are successful in kabaddi, successful in various sports, they can be the brand ambassadors for, apart from only Kohli or a Dhoni coming into the picture kind of stuff always. So there can be use cases.
Everything that has started to happen, there are a lot of PKL players who are now brand ambassadors of all of these tractor companies, all of these,
No, but not just the brand ambassadors, actually promoting the sports, going and...
I think that's a mindset change only that everybody has been speaking about, and now we have reached a point, like you said, that there are sports tech panel sessions happening. So I think it's just a few more years of mindset change that will happening. I don't think it will not happen at all. I think India just needs some more time.
I have one small saying about this. See, sports should be treated as sports and entertainment, basically. Just understand how the Bollywood industry is.
Absolutely.
Okay. It started off with poor people starting some movies and all of that. And then there were celebrities, and then there were a lot of languages, a lot of people, and Bollywood came out very well. Okay? They became celebrities and all of that. Now just think about sports as such. Okay? I have set up a power sports platform, okay, for rare sports. Okay? Now the rare sports are of different kind. Okay? They are some old games which perhaps you might have forgotten all of them. And anybody can raise a sport. Okay, and whoever has a best of the ideas, it is taken up, it is put down into the system, and people try to play around with it. It builds up, okay, a community of people to keep on coming out with sports. And I just wanted some thoughts on it. ROI is right now not there great. It's through my own funds, okay. But basically, I would like your thought process in it to make it up an industry. How you build it from the grassroots level, with sports coming out from a digital perspective. Okay, I'm currently talking only of through the digital ways. Okay, and you can play anyway. Okay, and you can bring out also sports of physical sports also. But I would like your thought process in it. How would you like it that to see as an investment perspective?
But what exactly is the question? Like how you are going to promote a rare sport from grounds up? Is that the question?
Yeah, and bring it as an industry. I'm saying that it is to be made as like a Bollywood industry. Coming out with some people, coming out with that, okay, he's the master of that rare sport. And he's there, and some rules set with related to these sports. I just wanted sort of a thought process in it, that how would you like to become a... So this platform that you're providing, sir, is it like a LinkedIn kind of a platform? It's just that, okay, you prepare the rule book. There could be an established sport that is known and that is played. Yeah. Or there could be a game that is not established and you're trying to push. To push.
And
I
some
like
rules.
Kind of, because I'll tell you why. Let's say pickleball. We said pickle 60 साल में 45 लोग में खेल रहा हूँ उतना ही खेल रहा हूँ.
No, it started.
I'm just kidding. I'm just saying. So we started 6 people started. Now we are about 150 people. Okay, and there's no space left for us to book pickleball. Now the thing was, we started it through a WhatsApp group, a bunch of us, right? The power that I like about this, and we can talk later, is there is a sense of exclusivity. Like we have a Formula 1 club in Bombay. A very rich person who's divorcing his wife is also on that. So the problem हो रही है. कुछ और ही बच रहा है. But that said, it's a very exclusive club. What we've seen, the power of that is we are able to negotiate more with Liberty International when we buy tickets. So last year all of us went to Melbourne and we saw it. And we got the best stand and we got it at 35% discount. I'm just saying that was the incentive for us. The NFL, NBA, everybody have similar clubs. They are called super fans, who usually started from a game and became super fans, and then they started promoting the sport. I can see some things there. They're very American, but I think in India there are people who can play. But it's a premium play. It's not a mass play. It's a premium play. That's my two cents.
I think it has to, as you rightly said, it has to come from community. That's the first word. In 21st century, there will be 2 pillars on which every business, at least the consumer side business, will be built. One is content, second is community. If you can sort out the two, if you can make your content aspirational and community exclusive, or like let's say, because humans, we all talk about brotherhood, things like those. But at the end of the day, we love talking shit about someone else. We like to differentiate, right?
See,
so
we are coming out with crowdfunding platforms where people can put on some money. There's a lot of things which are coming out in that. There's some tournaments coming out, some things like that, which can be built up as a environment. And that's what I'm working on.
I mean, also fundamentally, the games themselves will need to be good, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's the biggest.
They are actually old games, which perhaps you might have forgotten them. Maybe at our age, some people would have forgotten them. But they bring it back to you. And then you feel like, okay, we should play. Okay, and we should do.
Sure. So I think just in the scope of time, we are already 6 minutes, like it's 6:36. One last question from anyone.
I just wanted, being a sports tech.
We can discuss one-on-one. If anyone who has not asked so far. Yeah.
The question to Shubhangi from our conversation 2 years ago, I mean, and from where he was coming, that now, how many people have been able to build a sports kit? Okay, let's not get into the fact that most of sports search is keyword driven, and then everybody tried to be everything and all that. But from your perspective, how much progress have you, or how much thought have you put into that? That you make stars. Somewhere you have to start making stars, you know, from some of your properties. Has some thought been put into that?
So to be honest, हमारा tagline है हर player बनेगा star at a very grassroots level. I think that is what we like to call ourselves. But like to be honest, first of all, what's the definition of star? Is it like somebody who is just played school level, district level, state level, or somebody who has played for whatever he has played, but he's happy and he is telling everybody that they've played, right? I think that is what my definition of star is. Coming to why there are no more sports kidas, to be honest, I think firstly, people have started shifting from long form content. I think that is one of the main reason why we got into video, is that we would have had an option to just send people on ground to collect data on pen and paper and come back and tell us, right? But the whole point is the shift also from what is happening from long form to actually video content. If you go to our social media platforms, it's all about that how this player from Thane Kabaddi went to PKL, or how this player made an impact, or just glorifying the smallest of the success story that they have achieved in their lifespan. And if we are the lucky ones who have been able to capture that moment, then of course that is what makes them star probably in a way.
So I think thanks a lot. You can ask more questions one-on-one.